Can you afford this and not be eating Mr. Noodles for the next
5
years?
Yeah,
there's a balance here, right?
Yeah, I'm a big proponent for lifestyle. In fact, the way I do a lot of my business and the way I help my clients choose neighborhoods or wherever they want to live is we talk about the lifestyle that's attached to that particular area.
Hello everyone, welcome to Bamboo, Vancouver's property management and investment podcast. This week I have Liam Rines with us on the show for the first show of the year, which is yeah, we're starting it off, right? We're going to be making some predictions, and we'll probably have you back for the last show of the year to see if there's right. So if they are right, email me at Bamboo. If they're wrong, email Liam.
Yeah, it'll just be my severed head sitting here at the end of the year.
Like a talking one. So we're going to cover a few things this week. Coming through with the new year, there's been a lot of changes right before the end of last year, end of 2024. And the mortgage rates and everything have been changing and all this stuff. So I guess we're going to kind of look into things for both investors and first-time buyers are essentially looking for the same thing. They want, inexpensive, good quality, usually near transit or schools, this sort of thing. So they're generally looking for the same thing. Now, with some of the changes that have happened, for instance, the mortgage rates have finally started to drop down and down and down. Do you think this is going to cause a ruckus in the spring? What are your thoughts on the...
I think the ruckus is already happening. Okay. Numbers out literally this morning said that we're seeing a 3% increase from December over November. Now, that doesn't sound like much, and it kind of isn't. But considering how rough things were for 2024,
I got a little slow. Eh?
Talking to my home inspector, and he's like, there's agents that used to send me 3 deals a month. He's like, I haven't heard from them in 6 months. Yeah. I'm like, it was. I got lucky. I got lucky. Well, because I've been in the industry a little bit longer than some. Yep. So I do have some repeat business coming in and referrals. So that's kind of what kept me going. I can't imagine being a new agent jumping into 2024. A bit of a grind, right? That'd be pretty tough. Yeah. And I mean, that goes against everything HGTV told them when they got their real estate career in the first place.
Selling Sunset?
Oh, yeah. I'm going to get my real estate license. Millionaire, bro.
Easy.
Done.
Easy, right?
Yeah.
Not how it works.
Not even remotely close. Speaking of which, I'd like to point out, I'm going to get Yeti money coming in from this podcast, too. So just want everyone to take a look at my product placement here. So get that Yeti money rolling in here.
Savage. Absolute savage.
Yeah, there we go.
So you're figuring that if it's already started, you figure that the spring market, which is traditionally busier, is going to be really busy. Right?
I think our spring market is going to start in about 10 days.
You think so, eh?
I do think so.
After the holiday hangover?
Well, every agent that has been dealing with anybody waiting for those real estate or waiting for those interest rates to come down a little bit, there's a lot of fence sitters.
Of course.
I don't want to get back into multiple offer insanity. Yeah. So I'm calling every one of my buyers and being like, hey, these are the numbers we're seeing. Stuff is really starting to pick up. Yeah. Inventory is starting to go down, and this is going to create, multiple offer madness that we had to deal with.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same camp as you that I think that it's going to be really picking up. And it's funny because you will talk to some of your buyers and they'll tell you, I'm going to wait until the market improves, which means you're going to wait till it gets more expensive. And it's like, right now you should be moving. And I realize this is where a lot of people end up sending the comments, you're just saying that because you're a realtor.
No.
That is precisely why I'm telling you that, actually, because that's what's going to happen.
It is. And
it's why the mechanic tells you you need to change your oil.
Man, I know. I have friends that were waiting for the bubble to burst when the benchmark for a single family detached was 600,000.
Oh, yeah.
As of this morning, it's 1.17.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, my grandmother, who was a realtor, third generation.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Was born to the bubble as well. So that's one hell of a bubble if it is one.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a little screwy. So I guess, that's the earlier prediction. Now your thoughts on, they're supposed to be revisiting the mortgage rate this month. I believe it's on the 28th to 29th, if I remember correctly.
I can't see it going up.
Yeah.
Can't see it going up.
Figure down or even? Remember that we're going to hold you to this later.
Yeah, all right, my severed head. Okay. Okay. You know, I'm going to say they're going to hold.
Hold? Okay.
Yep. I'll say they're going to hold.
I'm going 0.25%.
I mean, everything they do is absolute madness in the first place, and doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, or to me, it doesn't anyway. So, who knows?
All right. I mean, you're at hold. I'm at 0.25%.
I mean, we just certainly on a federal level. I mean, we just lost Krista Freeland, so. Who's jumping in right now?
I have no idea.
Yeah, and who's running the Bank of Canada right now?
I have no idea.
I don't know anymore either, because I'm like, I used to pay a real close attention to this stuff, and I'm like, my blood pressure can't take this anymore.
Fair enough.
I'll watch U.S. politics all day long, because to me it's hilarious.
Yeah.
When it comes to the Canadian stuff, because it actually like really affects us.
Yeah.
Man,
That's some like awkward stuff, right?
my heart will literally explode.
All right, so keeping your heart in your chest, then we'll leave that be.
Okay. Yeti
for the first-time buyers and investors who are going to kind of get back into the market because things are always changing in that. What would be 3 tips for trying to navigate a busier market like we're expecting in the spring? I'm not saying the chaos, full tilt, multiple offers, which there may be some, but like what would 3 reasonable tips that I kind of help you along the way would be? Or less if you only have less.
From a consumer standpoint?
Yeah, from a buyer. If you're a buyer, going to go out, what's 3 things that you want to make sure that you're doing? Listen
to your agent.
Okay.
Hire an agent.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I don't say this just because it's because that's what I do.
Yeah.
Because I'm very reluctant about what I do some of the times. But like my biggest successes in those types of markets are having all of my ducks right in a row.
Yeah.
I have a working relationship with every aspect of the transaction.
Okay. So like break that down for everybody. Obviously we're talking agent, no duh.
Yeah.
Probably mortgage broker.
Yes, but but my mortgage broker or someone that I know is going to answer their phone, and someone isn't going to start the file on a Thursday when subject removal is on a Friday.
Yep.
And creates so much more stress for everyone involved.
Absolutely.
I've found that leveraging speed and having all of our ducks set in a row in these types of markets was incredibly beneficial because we were able to be like, oh, we saw it, let's go write a deal in the car.
Yeah, I get
and let's get it to you right away. You know, that I found to be really beneficial. I don't generally like writing subject-free offers.
Yeah, those are dangerous for sure. We can do a whole show on why those are dangerous.
We really should, but I mean, that is can I swear?
I don't know.
Okay. That is an unfortunate aspect of the of that particular market. But that being said, I love it when agents will actually allow you like a couple days to do an inspection or do that kind of thing. I would utilize that if I could.
Yeah.
To have an inspection, and for that, again, it comes down to having a good working relationship with also my my home inspector.
Yes. Now that being said, like as an agent, not allowed to pick an inspector. So do you have a group that you send?
Yep,
because you have them there, and with that as a follow up, as a consumer, a purchaser, what are some of the things that they should be asking an inspector other than who's the cheapest? Like, how would you, on a high overview, and so that you'll get yourself in trouble with a bunch of inspectors, what are some good questions to ask to make sure that they're on top of their game? Because obviously, you know, they specialize in this. This is what they're there for.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, with single family detached, they're going to be different questions than they are for condos. Condos are great because we do get an overview. You know, we get 2 years worth of minutes. We get depreciation reports if they're around. Single family detached can be a little bit more on the wild
there's a lot of things going on. I mean, Uncle Bob could have fixed that with no permits, or built an entire back of a home with it, which I have seen.
Oh yeah,
come across. I mean, I'd jump in and add on the purchasing side to make sure that you go down to City Hall and find permits for things, because the city will ask you to take it down if they find out.
It's interesting to see, like, if you like pull, title or whatever, and you look at like what the house is described as, and then you look at what they're selling, and I'm like, wait a minute,
single family.
This says it was a 3-bed, 1 bath. You've got 6 bedrooms, and you tell me there's no permits that were pulled for this. Okay, I'm pretty lucky in that the home inspector that I highly recommend for my transactions is someone that I've worked with for 12 years.
Okay.
So the big thing is, especially if you're a first-time homeowner, a lot of stuff is going to sound really scary. A lot of stuff is going to sound really, really scary. But just to like understand, if you're not buying brand new, if you're not buying brand new construction, which is a whole other thing, and you should definitely get that inspected as well, like maybe even more than anything else. But I've worked with him for so long. He's so good at like explaining real problems. Versus like oh man, like over stuff that really doesn't matter in the end. And finding a home inspector that doesn't necessarily make the transaction about themselves, and more about your client's needs is important too. Yeah.
Especially a few of the inspectors that I've seen a lot of my clients use, and I usually recommend at least 3 or 4 to them. Because everyone has a personality style that gets along and does it. You know what I mean? But I found one of the common traits with all 4 of them is that they use sort of a stoplight method. So like green being fine, yellow being like, you may want to change this, and then red being like, you need to change this, someone's going to get electrocuted.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. It's like that's sort of the thing that I would suggest for that. But like that's also like part of your team. So we've got your inspector, your agent. Now you were talking about the mortgage broker, not starting it late. What would be some other questions to ask them to see how they work?
Well, understanding that rate is important, of course, for sure. But it's not the end-all be-all either, Sometimes it depends on where the lender is coming from. And, I mean, again, I don't like talking too much about it because I'm not a mortgage broker.
You're staying in your lane, right?
and I leave it up to the excellent professionals that I work with. But I mean, questions, sure, like a lot about term, of course. What that's going to look like. Are you going to be like, can you afford this? Sure. And there's varying degrees of affordability.
Can you afford this and not be eating Mr. Noodles for the next 5 years? There's a balance here, right?
I'm a big proponent for lifestyle. In fact, the way I do a lot of my business and the way I help my clients choose neighborhoods or wherever they want to live is we talk about the lifestyle that's attached to that particular area. Great restaurants to go to. Where's the outdoor stuff? What are you going to do at the community center? What does the community center look like?
Yeah, absolutely. Right.
So, because I'm a big lifestyle aspect of the business, I don't like any of my clients to purchase anything that they're going to be on like a thin margins, like for living, because you never know when that bus coming around the corner has your name on it, right?
Oh yeah, right. So, well, not to mention, I found that I've seen a bunch of I've seen many people go and they chase in that house. You know what I mean? And so they will move to like way out there. They finally be able to afford that house, but they left everybody behind.
Yeah.
So now it's just you and all your friends are 2 hours away.
Oh my God.
And it's like, was it worth it? I don't know. Like, yeah, that's great, but a lot of times it leads to problems.
I used to sell quite a bit in Port Moody because that was the first place I moved to from Kamloops. Was Port Moody, and Port Moody was so sleepy back then, right? But I loved it. I loved Bunsen. I loved all of that aspect of that. And Port Moody 12 years ago is a lot different than it is now.
Yeah, absolutely. Right.
But I remember moving people in. They'd come from the city, and I'm like, oh, you got to see Bunsen Lake, and there's like there's Rocky Point, and it's incredible, and it was like super sleepy. Yeah. I'd move people in from Vancouver, and they're like, yeah, we finally have space now because they're living in a shoebox in Vancouver. They move out here, and they're like, yeah, none of my friends come to visit. Yeah. Nobody's coming from Vancouver to Port Moody to...
Especially that's probably pre-SkyTrain almost, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So that's also a huge problem.
So funny though, because they're like, yeah, they finally got a larger place, like they wanted a bigger place, and then at the same time, nobody's come to visit because a lot of people in Vancouver that time didn't know where Port Moody was.
Yeah, there's a lot of like the downtown core bubble where like they have bridges,
so
but they don't
funny.
need to.
They're like, dude, so is it like past Maple Ridge or? Right. And I'm like, dude,
no. Just look at a map.
It's really not. Just go back to Yaletown.
So we got your team set up.
Yeah,
that's all good.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess is the main points for starting it off, and then make sure that your team, I would suggest, is in touch with each other, because I find that's very helpful. Like when you you have the mortgage broker and they call me up, whether it's a purchase for a first time or investor, and say like, okay, here's what we're looking at. These are what the numbers are. This is max level. Because some people get little like stoked about something and like, oh yeah, I want that. Like, yeah, but it's 50 grand over where you're going to be. Like,
yeah,
like you can't do it. Sorry. Right.
Yeah.
And you have to be that control valve sort of thing, blow off the steam a bit. Right.
Yes.
And so I think it's a good idea to have everyone.
Oh, I'm like the amount of nightmares that I've had in dealing with someone's like, well, I'm just going to go with the bank, or we're just going to go with, my cousin says this guy's great or whatever, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. How many transactions a year does your cousin do?
Yeah,
like I do X amount. I've been in this industry for this long, and I trust this mortgage broker with my own family.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like, what does that say?
Yeah.
And in my one in particular broker, she was on her honeymoon in Italy, and she's emailing my clients. I'm not saying like that should not have been a thing at all, because it really shouldn't have. But like that's the type of dedication that she has, and that's the kind of dedication that I want for my clients.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So
that's a good thing then.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll go to the seller side as well, since there's two sides to the interaction. Mm-hmm. What would some of the top things you'd suggest for a seller to do to make their life easier? Because, I mean, competition is going to get more on the buyer side, but I mean, there's still some things.
Yeah. Well, first off, rough year for you guys last year. Right. Like, I mean, I had a couple Everests, literally, and like stuff that should not have been that hard to sell.
Yeah.
I mean, a beautiful 1-bedroom garden suite in Coquitlam, super close to transit, everything building solid. The particular footprint for this complex in the next, I want to say 8 years, 8 to 10 years, it's going to be very interesting for a lot of developers. So there's only 45 units in a huge footprint. So when that baby gets sold, it's going to be cha-ching ching.
Yeah, because it was technically up.
Yeah. So, it took me way too long to sell this place.
Yeah.
And a lot, I mean, of course it was market conditions and all of that, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was significantly slower last year for everybody. For the most part. Yeah.
Rough. But we did get her done. We got her done, which was great. But suggestions for sale: don't do a bunch of renos for the sale. Like, just paint.
Yeah, as I was going to say, like,
declutter,
do some renos, paint. But like, don't go balls out.
No, like,
paint and floors would be sufficient. Some lighting you can do. These are all like relatively cheaper things. Don't go knocking out your entire kitchen, because you're probably not going to make that back, right? You in my experience, anyway. You don't. The biggest thing you can do is fill your garage full of your knickknacks. Yep, that's another decluttering. Just get that out. I think the more I think about it, this is interesting because having this conversation, you have a couple of epiphanies. Like some of all the old school things that we used to do to get properties sold, I think are coming back into play. But what is some examples? Okay. Here? Yeah. Okay. First off, nobody answers their phone anymore. So when I get a listing now, I reach out directly
to people I know that are gonna answer their phone. Okay. So I try and get belly to belly with agents that I've done business with in the past. I know that they have their serious buyers. They're a serious agent.
Oh yeah.
You know. So posting it on the MLS, putting it on your websites.
Yeah, that's like standard issue stuff.
Sure, but also like maybe just reach out to some people you've done business with in the past and be like, hey, I got this coming up. You got a guy? No? Okay. Well, you might later. And here's my listing, right? I think that's super important when it comes to the sale aspect of things. Do you remember learning there, like, take down your photos, your family photos?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember that was a standard issue.
So that when people come in, they can picture themselves there and their own family photos on the wall and yada yada. Like, stuff like that.
Back to basic stuff.
Back to basics, because I think up until last year, it's been a seller's market for some agents their entire career.
Yeah. Because there's like a good 2 or 3 years was essentially throw the sign on the front lawn and wait.
And it's done, right? And this I want to just put it out there for developers. This especially affects you guys. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, the market is going to pick up. I think for the investors, they should think about purchasing now than waiting until spring.
Investors, sure, yeah.
So like if you're trying to pick up right now, the condos with the stats you said just came out.
Yeah.
The ratio is at 28%. It was 28, 23. It's got around one. Anyways, it's over 20 is the point. And so that usually over an extended time has lower pricing. So there's more of them out there. So I would suggest if you're trying to find an investment property on a condo, go now.
Yep.
Not later.
Yeah, and if you're an investor looking for a property, I think that when it comes to new construction, your best bet is sooner than later.
Well, that's the thing too, is that a lot of investors are going for these newer construction, but now it's just a great segue, by the way, to the new rules for the home flipping tax is coming now. So if you sell it within 2 years, there's an additional tax on top of, right?
Yeah.
So these are going to be some problems that I think it's going to be coming out with this, is that there are some purchasers now who bought 2 years ago but haven't closed yet. They're going to get hit with this tax now.
Mm-hmm.
So now they're essentially going to get pushed into being a landlord, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's fine and dandy. The idea is to not raise prices and whatnot. But here's where I'm thinking that they've missed a bit of a point is that anybody who's renting now, don't get too comfortable, because after 2 years, that tax isn't there anymore. They're probably going to want to get their money.
No kidding.
So I think we're going to see, like, yes, a bunch of rental places are going to come on the market.
Yeah.
But they're only going to be there for 2 years. I think that we're going to see in 2 years a lot of displacement for a lot of tenants, and that's going to get rough, because all of a sudden
it's rough already.
Oh, it's tough. It is. I mean, the prices of rent have been coming down gradually, but they will probably go back up. They all kind of run side by side, right? But this is the thing. If the spring market picks up like we're predicting, that's going to get all the people to buy, which means there's less to buy. And as it gets pushed down, if you were just getting in and now all the prices have went up, you're either renting or moving to the prairies. So
we will to the prairies.
Right. So we'll probably see, I will suspect after the market really picks up on the sales side, we will end up seeing the rental side also start going up, because people are going to get pushed out of the purchase side of it.
So, well, so many people are already pushed out anyway.
Oh, absolutely. It is tough out there for like everybody.
For everybody. I mean, like the the government leaving it up to the private sector for housing now. Oh, you can put 6 units on your lot now. Okay, great. So there's like zoning applications up through every single neighborhood right now. That's displacing like a ton of people. And for people to be like, oh, this is a great little place for me to have my family. And then you're like, oh, you got to move here in like probably about 2 years.
Yeah. Like that's what I mean. Like, I think I think there's going to be repercussions from this. Obviously,
are you telling me that you think they haven't thought things through?
Yeah, it's odd. It happens.
Well, I'm sure they consulted with our. I'm sure they consulted with our
the board,
with our board and our and BCREA and
sure,
and CREA. Yeah, surely they must consult those working in the field every single day.
Yeah, that makes sense.
As opposed to 2 city planners.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see how that goes, but yeah, I think that's going to be one of the issues that comes up for sure.
Yeah, I think it's ridiculous. It's just tax on tax on tax on tax. This province, I think, is drunk on real estate taxation money. I mean, property transfer tax.
Yeah, it's a heavy one too.
Like I love it when people tell me like, "Yeah, you realtors, you're out there setting the price for real estate." I'm just like, "What? Man, you think that's a scam? You think we're a scam? Wait till you hear about PTT, man. You're not even going to believe this shit."
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those myths that is that the real estate community controls the market. And it's like, I was trying to buy a house a few years ago. I couldn't lower the market though. I guess I missed the meeting. So,
I know.
Like everyone's
tell me about it, man.
Right? So yeah, I mean, we're going to see some definite changes. I think all of these taxes and essentially trying to slow down the market it's kind of like trying to swim upstream.
Okay. So this is just my layperson's understanding of what I see.
Yeah.
So trying to slow the market, and yet our province literally runs on real estate money.
Yep.
So what happens to the province when we slow the real estate market?
Yeah.
Money wise.
Yeah, I don't know. It's funny because there's no silver bullet to fix the problem. Like one of the things that I always advocate for is we need more purpose-built rentals.
Yes.
So that way, if you want to move in there and live there for 30 years, you're fine because no one's going to sell it. And that's one of the ways I think that would be helpful, as well as when they're being built, don't try to build the Taj Mahal here. Like, generally speaking, a tenant wants a clean place that works properly in a reasonable neighborhood with some amenities around it. Now, things have also picked up so much. For instance, granite countertops, they look nice and all that, but the arb rate has also picked up and looks pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Right? Yes, I'm aware that it's not the same, but it still looks good. It's clean, it's new, it's all that. And if arb rate breaks, it's a lot easier to repair than granite, right? Or quartz or whatever you may, Caesar stone, whatever, right? So I think that if you started building some purpose-built condos that are decent, don't have, as I said, don't have to be the tip-top best ever, would save, it'd solve a lot of the problems.
Yeah. I think also having to sit and wait for 3 years for permits is absolutely insane. There's no other product on the market that takes this long to get from X phase to sales phase.
Yeah, absolutely.
Except for I find that when it's like city-owned land and they're building something super fast,
right?
Which is kind of contrary to leaving housing up to the private sector by now allowing up to 6 units per lot.
Yeah.
And then taking 3.5 years to get those permits done. And then another year to build. So we're looking at 5 years.
Yeah.
Basically. I mean, this is excluding the land assembly in Port Moody that took 9 years to bring to market. And people are wondering why real estate costs so much money. Are you kidding me? And now on top of that, so they leave housing up to the private sector, which I don't think that's a false statement to say. Like, I think that's kind of what's going on. Allowing up the 6 lots or 6 units per lot, game changer, total game changer. I love also that they put that out there in congruence with a raise on the capital gain tax. So it's really interesting how that worked out, right? Yeah, we know we're in a housing crisis. We have 2 city planners per municipality. Now, we're going to take 4 to 5 years before you can build your product and bring it to market. And then we're going to hit you for 67% on that capital gain?
It's a tough.
We need to learn from the French, man. Like, there should be manure all over these federal offices. Oh man, maybe I shouldn't have said that.
Don't get us in trouble, man. I'm going to end with our show getting canceled.
Sorry about that. Yeti. Yeti.
Now you've lost all that.
Yeah. Damn it.
So yeah, I mean,
yeah, I could easily turn this into an airing of grievances because I missed that aspect of Festivus this year. We didn't have a Festivus this year, so I've got a lot of stuff pent up in me.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like that. When it comes to affordable housing, and that's what everybody wants. That's what I want. Mm-hmm. That's what realtors want. Like, I would rather do more business in a year and help more families than not.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when a 1-bedroom condo is $500,000, there's a problem there.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely. That being said, I mean, that's where a lot of people should get into the market as soon as possible and pick up those, even if it's not the most perfect place. Like I tell a lot of first-time buyers, just get your foot in the door.
Yeah.
Same with the investors. A lot of investors are really, really concerned about covering the net, which, yes, that is the ideal plan. Covering the net being, your mortgage,
sure,
taxes and all that are paid by the rent, and that fine dandy. The problem is, though, is that I find a lot of investors get so focused on that they forget about the bigger picture. So if you're dragging, let's say, $200 a month, not covering the net, so it's $2,400 a year. Do you think your property is going to be worth more than $2,400 in 3 years? Let's arbitrarily say that it goes for that, so $3,600. Probably, right?
100%.
You probably are going to get that
unless
back.
you're on the prairies.
Yes, yeah, the prairies, the sprawl.
Sprawl.
But that's what I'm saying is that, like, I think that a lot of investors lose the big picture thing. And I would also, I'm going to say it and probably get shelled for it, that if you're buying an investment property, buy a turnkey one. Do not go and buy these brand new properties, especially because this new tax is here. So you're going to be a landlord, whether you want.
Well, the good thing is that it takes, despite what the salespeople will tell you in a new construction sales office, it's always going to take more than 2 years.
Absolutely. Always going to be late. Right?
Yeah.
But like, that's the thing is that you want your turnkey because this way you can start building that equity now.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to, because a lot of these places, they're selling a 2-bedroom, $750,000, $800,000.
Yep.
That is not going to cover the net, period.
No.
So I've been contacted by numerous landlords that are like, I'm losing money on this each month. Yeah. Buying a investment property, if you are focused on covering the net, buying that brand new one, knowing you're going to be dragging that as it goes up, yes. Yeah. You'll probably be able to.
What if you were to do, I don't work with a whole lot of investors, but I don't know, send them a CMA every year.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it.
I know it sucks. You had to pay an extra $2,400 out of your pocket this year. That's really shitty. However, if I were to sell your place today,
it's worth $50,000 more.
Yeah,
right.
So
$50,000 minus 24, you're good.
Yeah, and then we'll do it again next year, right?
Yeah.
Of course you're gonna have to feed it.
Absolutely.
Maintenance fees are gonna go up. Things are gonna happen. I'm just when I think in investor, of course I'm thinking condos because I don't think you can. There's a single family detached.
Yeah, there's nobody really buying those for investment.
Not even in Hope.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, those
Which, by the way, okay, so I'm saying this from an interior guy.
Mm-hmm.
You're a Lower Mainland guy.
Yeah, Vancouver born.
Yeah, man.
West in particular.
Okay, so what's the deal with Hope?
I don't know. I didn't go there.
I've always said this. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
There. It's stunning. You've got the mountains and the river and everybody kind of turns their nose up at it. I'm like, this is awesome.
I've never tried. I've never really been there. I've driven past it.
Yeah, I've driven past it too, but I was like, man, people really shit on Hope, and I'm like, it's really pretty here, and Rambo.
So for people who are looking to purchase, though, around the Lower Mainland, what would you say are some good pockets to look into? Like you touched on that Port Moody used to be kind of sleepy and now it's, blown clean up. Is Port Coquitlam your next one over?
Okay.
What do you think is a good pocket?
Poco for sure. Mm-hmm. Poco for sure. I was unlucky enough to live there for 8 years, I guess, probably. And I think that a lot of these municipalities, since COVID happened, and there was like an exodus from the cities.
Yeah, Maple Ridge blew up.
Maple Ridge, by the way, Maple Ridge's single-family detached home sales, is like my litmus test for what I think is going to happen with the rest of the Lower Mainland. But I really think that a lot of these municipalities that had no amenities previous, like people used to drive into Vancouver to eat whatever.
Yeah, like the fancy restaurants and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, you bet. There is a sushi joint in a strip mall in Poco right now that the guy has a picker at the fish market in Tokyo, sends him his stuff every Thursdays. There is some of the best dining, Japanese dining in a strip mall in Poco, that like you never see that before.
Yeah.
Whereas now, because everyone's moved from those cities, they expect those amenities there. Yeah. I mean, breweries are almost a dime a dozen now. I mean, they're kind of everywhere.
Yeah.
But that was something that people wanted. People wanted entertainment. People wanted to be able to live a similar lifestyle that they had downtown in, say, the West End. Yeah. But then also not pay West End dollars either, fair enough. Right? So yeah, I think that New West, I think, is a great spot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm biased, but yeah.
Yeah, me too. I mean, my lady has very deep roots here in New Westminster. Other than getting in and out of here, which can be a real pain in the ass, and the local government, which is ridiculous.
We're not going to get into that.
Oh, nope. Yeah, no, maybe
that's a different show.
I'm going to start a podcast for just that. Sorry, man. I think New West there's pockets here that are awesome.
Yeah.
I don't think you need to go as far as to Maple Ridge. Yeah. I think Pitt Meadows there's some great value in Pitt Meadows, because everyone thinks it's a lot farther out than it actually is.
Yeah.
If you're going to Poco, you can probably go to Pitt Meadows.
Yeah. It's it's pretty near. 15, 20 minutes extra. You'll be all right.
You're gonna make it. Yeah. I mean, I love that. I don't do too much on the south side of the river. But Langley might be overplayed a little bit now.
Yeah, I think Langley used to be like the good pocket, but it seems to have gotten really expensive now.
Yeah, man.
And so it's almost like it got discovered and then it's swarmed.
I had some really amazing amazing clients that bought a townhouse out there in this one particular complex, and then they had friends of theirs move and become Canadian citizens.
Yeah,
they became Canadian citizens, and they wanted to live in a similar spot. And this was in probably about a two year difference.
Yep.
And so I managed to get them in the same complex with their friends. And the difference was already like $200,000 for a townhouse. And I remember because people trust us literally with their life savings, and sometimes that weight can be terrifying as an agent. I'm the type of guy that takes things to heart when it comes to my clients.
Yeah.
There's a lot of agents are a little bit more thick-skinned, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those guys. So when she's holding her newborn, going, did we make the right decision? This was a lot of money, and I'm like, yes. Your friends are here, but I made sure, I made note of it, and I'm like, I might call Mariana and let her know in a year what her townhouse is worth.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, look, I know that you guys were struggling with the cost and everything, but here we are a year later, and you've made $100,000.
Yeah. Which isn't always the case.
Not always the case.
Make sure that we're aware of that.
Not always the case, but she got into a neighborhood that was in flux.
Gradually going up.
Just gradually going up, and I think that was. It turned out to be a good purchase. Would I buy in that townhouse complex now for my clients? Maybe not, because it's. I think they're probably 1.1 now.
Mm-hmm. So maybe same sort of plan, but look towards Pitt Meadows, towards Poco,
sure,
that sort of thing.
Yeah, or Hope.
You never know. I mean, I don't know anything about hope, so sure, man.
Well, I just watched Rambo: First Blood the other day for like the first time in a long time, so I'm on a bit of a hope kick right now.
There you go.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be in hope.
Let's build a townhouse complex in hope. Yeah.
So you were talking about earlier with affordability. Now they've changed the rules from the CMHC, the paying less than 20% for a layman's way of putting it.
Yeah.
What do you think about the fact that those levels have now been increased past $1 million? Like before $1 million, you needed 20%. Otherwise,
I think we needed this 10 years ago.
Yeah, I mean,
like a decade ago.
But you do think it's going to be a help?
Man, I paid $5 for a russet potato the other day at the grocery store.
You should go to a different grocery store.
No, it was just like it was a superstore or whatever. Even the woman working there was like, this potato was $5. I'm like, I know, So like any little thing, anything helps. Yeah, everything helps. I'm a stepdad. Kids got lacrosse.
Yeah, it's expensive. Well,
you know my houses I have to sell to have lacrosse money,
right?
I tell you, man, it's crazy. It's almost the same I need for potato money. But no, I mean, I think that it needs to happen, and it should have happened a long time ago. I'm tired of knee-jerk reactions from government and the powers that be. I don't think there's a tremendous amount of foresight going into our industry, other than
tax it.
Other than pandering in ways that don't really make sense. I mean, we ended our foreign buyers, right? Mm-hmm. What has that done for? We ended foreign buyers from people being able to invest in our country. Yeah. Right. When did that happen?
2 years. I guess 2 years now. I'm losing track of it. It's been
okay. So it's been
it got extended. So
it got extended. Why did it get extended?
Didn't really change much.
Has it done anything for affordability?
No.
Zero.
Yeah.
So it just arbitrarily got extended to 2027 without a vote, without anyone talking about it, without anything. I don't think that's great.
Yeah.
In all of my years doing what I've done, I have never seen a foreign entity purchase with me anyway, for the sole purpose of driving the cost up. Yeah. But I have seen politicians be like, well, here's an easy finger for me to point.
Yeah.
So let's point at this. Mm-hmm. And this is the real problem. It's all this foreign money coming in and buying up our real estate. And it's like, that's the problem.
Yeah. The problem is that it's all, we need to fix it domestically, is what it comes down to.
Yeah. But the powers that be, it's just easy to point at all these other things instead of going, wait a minute, maybe it's because it takes 6 years to bring the product to market in the first place. So, sorry.
So I guess in total, I mean, it works down to we talked about earlier about tips for buyers and tips for sellers.
Yep.
Essentially, it seems like if you get things in a row on both sides and just do the basic stuff, then it'll work out
sometimes for sellers. Listen, sellers, sometimes your first offer is your best one.
Yeah, that's another tough one.
That's, buyers, sometimes that first place you see is the best one.
Yep.
Don't close your mind off to that. If you want to see more stuff, great, you can do that. But if we're moving into the market that I think we're moving into for buyers, if you see a place that you like and it's 80% of what you're looking for, pull the trigger immediately, especially for not having to compete, because
the competition is what's going to drive these prices up.
I sold a townhouse in Port Moody during the height of everything. Mm-hmm. So we had a full week's worth of showings.
Yep.
Open houses Friday, Saturday, Sunday,
mm-hmm.
Monday and Tuesday for anyone that wanted to do a home inspection.
Yep.
And then offers are on Wednesday at 5 p.m.
Yeah.
I had it moderately priced at 1.15.
Mm-hmm.
It went for 1.1565 or something.
Yeah, it's like
obscene like that. Yeah. So I ended up having to tell 13 families who I've like met their kids coming in. They're just looking for a place to, I don't know, raise their children, to hang their hat. And I had to tell them, I'm sorry that your offer of $300,000 above ask wasn't even close.
Yeah.
So
that's a tough one, right?
So that's when us agents are talking about pulling the trigger fast, it's for this reason, because you don't want to be on that other side of things.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. Now, just to touch in before we finish wrapping up there, when people get involved in a multiple offer, what are some best practices to make sure that you're at least in the running, other than the number? No, duh. But like, are there any other practices you'd say to help?
Yeah. Remember, there's value in dates.
Okay.
And because of that value in dates, it's, again, goes back to having all of your ducks in a row.
Yeah. And when you're saying value in dates, what do you mean for
people? I mean, a seller may need an extended period of time for them to find a home, or they may have already found it and want to go right away.
Yeah.
So leveraging
ask that question, I guess, right?
Ask that question, and then being able to leverage time with your dollars can be beneficial as well.
Yeah.
The last deal I did, we won in multiples, actually for less money. Because we were able to move quickly. That's really funny. There's a tie-in that's like that completion is next week, but that's a tie-in.
Which is funny about you're talking about the ducks in a row. Another thing that I find many agents, for some reason, going back to basics and stuff, don't have the copy of the deposit check. And I know from on the sales side and from the purchasing side, it definitely helps when you can show them, I have the deposit that I've written down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we're dead serious, right? Yeah. And I find that if you're in a multiple offer, usually those ones with the check move to the top. We start looking at those 2 or 3 first.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, so to jump in and give my own.
No, well, I mean, but do you also remember when things were so crazy that deposit checks were and bank drafts were being done directly to the seller and completely bypassing brokerage's trust accounts?
Yeah,
that was the real Wild West, and that was insane.
Yeah, like those are some, but yeah, definitely going back to the basics thing, like get your ducks in a row.
Yeah,
make sure that you have your deposit check. Dates is a great point.
Dates is great. Weird numbers at the end. Because some sellers will know, they're like, okay, so we're going to have all of these offers coming in. Everyone's got a cover letter. Yeah. Their babies are super cute. Their dogs are super cute. They love the place. And some people will be like, we're not even going to look at the letters.
Yeah.
We're just going to go straight numbers.
Yep.
Straight numbers. And in some cases, you know, having an extra $2,678 at the very end will actually make the difference in it.
Yeah. I've seen a seller go for one because it happened to be their lucky number at the end of it. I was like, wow, that's a very strange reason to go for that, but hey.
I mean, if I was in that position and I have all these offers coming in, all of these cover letters, all these amazing human beings, and I only have to choose one. I mean, only one person's getting the rose, right? Then I would have to remove myself because I would make an emotional decision.
Yeah. And
sometimes emotion should stay out of monetary transactions.
Yeah, there's a quote that was told to me that is you cannot logic emotion. So
yeah,
whether it be reasonable, and everything points to that. If you're emotionally tied, it's gonna win.
But then also have a really great cover letter with photos of your dog and your super cute kid. And all of it, right? Literally, just put as many bullets in that clip as you can.
Yeah.
So have the weird numbers. Have the weird numbers. Have the cute kid. And dogs. Dogs always work.
Yeah.
Dogs always work. And then have your dates accommodate. I think moving into a market like that, those are probably the best things you can do.
Perfect. Wicked, man. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show. Is there anything that is burning at you that you had to add other than yelling at our government?
Well, I mean, like, we didn't, like, which government? Municipal, nope, provincial, or federal? No? Okay. Then Yeti.
And if anyone's looking to get a hold of you for more advice on real estate in general,
how
do they find you?
Honestly, send me a text message.
Okay.
Yeah, send me a text message.
Okay.
Somebody sold my number to a third party.
Oh, I get those all the time.
Yeah. How many are you at a day?
At least 3.
Yeah. At least 3. No, text messages are always easy
Okay.
to get a hold of me. And I mean, just punch in my name.
Okay.
Look
yeah,
online.
we'll have all your information in the description down below. So
for what we pay to be like easily found, people are like, well, how am I going to find you? I'm like, do you know how much money goes out monthly so that you can just punch in my name and there it is? Anyway, yeah. This was fun. Next time we'll do it in the evening.
Yeah, for sure, right? I feel what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
If you've been listening this long, thank you so much for joining us. This has been Bamboo, Vancouver's property management and investment podcast.